Benjamin, thanks for joining us today. If you can just start off by telling us a little bit more about yourself and what you do.
So my name is Benjamin Joff. I'm the managing director of a consultancy called Plus 8 Star, which deals with mobile and internet innovation covering Japan, Korea and China. And I've been working in China, Japan and Korea for the past 8 years. So I lived in the three countries and we have been covering mostly mobile and telecom. I worked in telco and startups, and now I created my consultancy to help foreign companies and local companies understand new models and local innovation to port to other countries.
And you are also very familiar with social networks and the whole social network trends. Can you give us a background or the difference between US and China social networks?
Yeah, social networks is obviously a very interesting topic. What's even more interesting is that it looks very new, even though it's not necessarily so new. To name a few, one that has got a little bit of coverage from Korea is Cyword, that started in '99, and which is a trust-based and real-name social network from Korea. And what's interesting to see that some models have not yet been so much explored in other countries. Now, to look at differences between US and China, more specifically, I think the key difference results from the local, I'd say, economic environments rather than really technical social environments. Notably, in US, there's a very strong and established online advertising market. So whatever you do on the internet, the tendency is to go for the, I'd say, the easy money, which is to get page views. So basically you build a site that will make people refresh many times and get basically as many page views as you can, so that after that you put a lot of eyeballs in a basket and you sell them B2B to advertisers. In China, unfortunately, the online advertising market is not that big. Last year was just about $1 billion, and most of it was controlled by the largest portals like Sina and Sohu, and the search engine like Baidu or Google. So considering the number of other internet properties on the local market, there's just not enough food for everyone. So what happened, and if we look at the most interesting case, which is QQ, with over 300 million active accounts and over 700 million registered accounts. Well, those guys, when they started in '97, '98 by a kind of concept coffee of ICQ, well, they were not the only ones on the market, and the problem is that after a few months or a few years, most of them got very tired of working hard on getting absolutely no revenue because there was no business model around IM. So most of the competition dropped out, and were only left a few who stick to it and had to work hard on finding new models because there was no model. So that's what happened with QQ. So they found that actually users were interested in personalization, and what they did, which is a lot of work, is to establish some ways, some payment platforms on the ways to pay. So today for QQ you have about a dozen ways to pay to buy online currency. And with that, you can personalize your space, your avatar, buy some like value-added services. So interestingly, I'd say the innovation came out of a lack of other solution.
Now, for that company in the US, for example, who is looking to enter the market, specifically in social networks, what kind of advice would you offer them?
I'd say if a foreign company wants to come to China, first I'll ask them to ask themselves why. Because most of the foreign social networks are using this advertising business model, which still doesn't really work so well in China, even for the bigger ones. Last year, QQ's revenues were above $500 million, and barely 13% were coming from advertising. So that's not a lot. QQ is such an overwhelming player that anybody coming after for the yacht sector or the entertainment sector will face very, very stiff competition. So first, question is, why do you come? Then, if you really want to show like more page views, at least to your investors or shareholders, and look good on showing graphics, you can find a lot of users in China, but the problem is that for pretty much each successful US service, there's at least one local competitor doing pretty okay. So, like, if you take a player like Facebook, they already have a local competitor, Xiaomi, who actually raised more money than them in the US. They raised over $400 million. So, I'd say if you come, you should really do your homework on do a thorough study of the local markets, on what are the local possible business models, on if all that makes sense, if you can find an angle or something special you do that the local players don't do, then there's a possibility, but it's a tough market to be in.
And last but not least, where do people go if they want to learn more information about you and your company?
Well, they can go to our website on www.plus8star.com, and there we offer some free material also about QQ, about Cyword, on the other presentations we've done, on other articles we wrote about the local market.
Thanks so much for joining us today, Benjamin.
Thank you.